Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Ramani Online Mathematics, and today we are just going to look at the initial and the boundary value problem, or the initial conditions. Is that okay? Now, what does this thing do, especially the initial condition and that of the boundary problem? What does that one do? Now let's look at something like this. Let's assume that I have dy dx equals 10. Let's say I have something like this. Dy dx equals 10. You know, this one is over 1. So I can do cross multiplication. Simple one, of course. So I have dy. So 1 times that, that's 1 times dy equals 10 times what? Dx. So let's integrate the both sides. So if I integrate with respect to y, I have y. If I integrate with respect to x, I have 10x. But remember, anytime we integrate indefinite integration, then what happens is that we add what? C. Where this c is what? A constant. A c is what? Constants. Okay, so the c can assume different values. So we can say that a c can be what? 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4. It can also be negative numbers, so it can assume different values. Is that okay? When we have something like this is called, this particular solution we have here is called a general solution. So this is called a general solution. But in our case, sometimes we want to get what the c is. So that thing is what we call a particular solution. So once you're able to determine the value of c, it becomes what? A particular solution. But how can you do that? You can only do that with the help of the boundary condition or the initial what? Condition. The boundary condition or the initial condition. Very good. So let's look at how we can use the boundary and that of what? The initial condition. So let's look at the difference between this boundary and the initial. Okay, so now let's look at this. The difference between the initial condition and the boundary condition. What happens is that, let's say that when the condition given is having the same value of independent value, then we can term that one as the initial value problem or the initial condition. So let's take this one for instance. This is the differential equation and this is the condition. Okay, looking at the condition, what is inside here is the independent value or the numbers there. So the 0 and this 0 are the independent that we are talking about. So this and that, since this one and that one are the same, then we can say that this is what? The initial value problem. But when we have a case when they have different values of independent values, then we term it as what? Boundary value problem. An example is the same thing, just that you realize that the independent variables here are what? Different. This is 0 and this is what? 1. I hope you have understood what a boundary condition is and what the initial condition is. Now let's look at an example. Alright, so now let's look at an example. Use the given initial conditions to evaluate the constant c in the following equation. So whatever that has been given to us here is the initial condition, not the boundary condition. Alright, so the first one, let's look at the first one. You have y equals c e to the power x minus 1. The initial condition is this. So this one is having an initial condition of this. So what you are going to do is very simple. Y of negative 1 equals 0. We said that the one here is the independent variable, means that is the x. So we have x to be equals to negative 1. Then y will be equals to 0. So y is equals to 0. Okay, so it means that wherever you see y, you put 0 there, and you see x, you put -1. So let's see, 0 equals c e to the power -1 minus 1 minus 1. Already there's minus and the x is also minus. So you realize that negative will be positive. So when I do this and that, have different sign, they are the same. So they will go to 0. So this will go with this. So I have 0 equals c over e to the power 1, or c over 1, c over e. So you do cross multiplication, you see that our c will be equal to 0. So the constant there is 0. Now let's move to the next one, which is this. Okay, we have y minus x plus 1 squared equals c y plus x minus 1, and the condition is 7. Y of 6 equals 7, means that our y is equals to 7 and our x equals 6. Is that okay? So if our y is 7 and our x is 6, what you are going to do is that wherever you see y is 7, x is 6. So I have 7 minus 6 plus 1 all squared equals c bracket open 7 plus 6 minus 1. This is what we have. So 7 minus 6 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have 2 squared equals 7 plus 6 will give us 13. 13 minus 1 will give us 12. So we have 12c. 2 squared is 4 equals 12c. So at this point, you divide both sides by 12. So here 12, here 12. You realize this will go with this, so our c will be 1/3. So that's our constant. Is that okay? Now 11 with 2. So try to solve the last two. Try to solve it. So this is how we use the boundary or the initial condition to find the arbitrary constant c. Is that okay? This is how we do that. So maybe our next one is going to be how to separate differential equations. Thank you.